And we are officially live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Whitfield Report. I am your host, Sam Whitfield, broadcasting live from NGC Studios here in South Florida. Long-awaited return, I might add. And hopefully nothing crashes this week, ladies and gentlemen. I really hope not. Believe it or not, we had a whole bunch of big thunderstorms this past week, and I usually don't like to blame technical difficulties on the weather. Usually I find that to be a cop-out at the very least, but for some reason I think between the airport, where I live in Florida, I live nearby an airport. I won't disclose exactly where, but, some of you can probably figure it out. But, anyway, I live by an airport where I'm at in Florida. And, every time a plane is going in or out, I think they crank down, the cellular signal and the Wi-Fi signals and whatnot around the area because, or the airport sends out like a disruptor or something because every time the plane goes over, the internet, my cellular, it all goes to crap while the airplanes are going over. But then on top of that, we had a whole bunch of thunderstorms this previous week. So that might have also been a contributing fact to why the show got cut off last week. And for those of you who were watching last week and saw that the show got cut off, I sincerely apologize. I must have been ranting for 15 more minutes about Maxine Waters and whatnot, but seriously, folks, I got through a whole monologue about that before I even realized that we had been cut off air. And at first I thought it was YouTube. Maybe I had finally stepped on enough toes. Maybe they were upset at me for, criticizing Maxine Waters. Maybe I had taken it too far. Who knows, though. So the show from 2 weeks ago just got canceled completely due to technical difficulties. The one last week got cut off mid-show due to technical difficulties, and I just had a whole bunch of technical problems last week, folks. But the good news is I'm back, and knock on wood, nothing happens, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, contact info, as usual, for the audio podcast listeners. Although if you're on YouTube, you can see most of this. You can visit my website at thesamwhitfield.com, where you can find all the info. Twitter is at @SamW_NDC, hashtag Whitfield Report. You can follow me on Gab at Sam Whitfield. You can follow me on Instagram at SamW_NDC. And finally, Facebook.com/Whitfield Report. And of course, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever else you get your audio podcasts from. And I also want to give a quick reminder that you can also go to patreon.com/Whitfield and check out my Patreon page and become a contributor to the show. And whatever you can contribute, these are the different levels. I always appreciate any contribution that any listeners can give. And, even if you can't contribute financially, I always appreciate if you like, comment and subscribe and tell your friends about this show. It really helps me, and it really helps people find out about this show too. Alrighty, folks. So this week was this past week we had the 4th of July, but we had Independence Day on Wednesday, which is kind of a weird day to have the 4th of July. It's in the midst of the week. It doesn't really sync up with that long weekend, and most of the time it does, but this year it was smack dab in the middle of the week. And usually, every year I do a show on the 4th of July. I've done annually for the past 10 years on the 4th of July, where I basically do a 4th of July tribute show, and I talk about the Declaration of Independence and what this country means to me. And I do want to do that a little bit tonight, folks, but, I am calling this the After Independence Day show. And, I don't want to go over the same monologue I do every year, but I am proud, without a doubt, to be an American. Because this is the only country where anyone from any walk of life, through hard work and determination, can go from rags to riches through their own ingenuity, blood, sweat, and tears. Now, there are a lot of people out there now who would rather complain about the imperfections of the American way of life. And granted, ladies and gentlemen, we are not perfect by any means. We have our flaws. That is clear. But think about the lives of our ancestors who came over from the old country, whether it be Ireland, Italy, Russia, Germany. You think about our ancestors, how they came over with nothing. And yet many of them were able to build a small business or two, or go to work for a company where they were able to successfully put food on their table for the family and for their neighbor and for their neighbors. At one point in America, that was the American dream. In fact, a home over everyone's head and a car in everyone's garage. That was the big post-World War II American dream. That was the essence of it. We've come a long way in 200 years, and yes, we still have things that we need to address. But by and large, I think America is still pretty damn great. Now, the flaws within our country, I think largely today, are due to the fact that we really don't know how to talk to each other and how to have intellectual discussions with each other. Okay. Yeah, thanks for letting me know. Love in the chat said the UK just had London's Muslim mayor at a gay pride event. Yeah, I don't really know what to say on that, other than, thanks for letting me know, I guess. But as I was saying, getting back to the topic at hand, I think America's biggest problem today is that we aren't communicating with each other. We don't know how to talk to each other about serious issues, and honestly, we can't even hold a conversation, or much less a thought, for more than 5 minutes at a time. Now, I think, part of the reason why attention spans are going down, it may be partially due to technology. I'm not going to deny that. But I think also a big part of the reason why people's attention spans are going down, and the reason why we can't communicate with each other, is due to the overwhelming bombardment of information that we receive on a daily basis. I think the information gets too overwhelming for many people, and they would rather just shut down and not pay attention to the world around them. Now, I think I think that's why we have a shortened attention span. Now, as far as the reason why we can't communicate with each other, I think political correctness is the big reason why we're having a communication breakdown in this country. Everyone is so afraid to say what they really think and what's really on their mind, because we don't want to offend anyone anymore. And that's becoming a big problem. And I don't want to pin it necessarily on the left only, but I certainly think that that could be a problem. Ludwig says, I blame Fortnite for all modern problems. Yeah, Ludwig, there might be an element of truth to that, actually. I know that you're being somewhat sarcastic, but I think as I said, I do think technology has somewhat to do with, people's lack of attention spans, but also I think the overload of information is a big problem, and I think political correctness is why we can't communicate with each other either. I mean, we can't even go... Okay, let me put it this way. I purposely turned off my Twitter notifications and my Facebook notifications off on the 4th of July. You know why? Because the 4th of July was the one day I wanted to take off to not be bombarded with the political bullcrap in the world, left or right. And I know that, as much as I would like to think that my fellow Americans think the same way about America as I do, and I'm including some conservatives in this too. As much as I would like to think that everyone would just take a day to acknowledge each other as fellow Americans and whatnot on the 4th of July, I knew that wasn't going to happen. I think honestly, we're too polarized now with social media. Yeah, and believe me, it's fun to troll. It's fun to. It's just as fun for me to rub salt on the wounds of social justice warriors on Twitter and make them cry. Believe me, that's all fine, good and well. 363 days a year. Christmas is the other. I would say it's Christmas, Thanksgiving, and the 4th of July. Not necessarily in any particular order, but those are the 3 holidays, I would say, where, I really don't, care about politics. The other couple days, have at it. But, if I were God, King of the world, I would put a moratorium on that. Ludwig had a good comment that I need to move my mic over so I can actually read the comments pane. That's how big my mic physically is. I agree, though. Technology has murdered attention spans to the point where we can't even listen to an argument without a mental distraction. That is true, and that's kind of my point, with bringing up the whole technology. Now, on the flip side, I am very proud to say that that's why yours truly does an hour show every week. And, well, no, technically I do 2 hours because now I have the American Watchman Roundtable, which you can subscribe to by searching the AW Roundtable on YouTube and subscribing. That'll be on at 9:05 after this podcast ends. But I think on the flip side, the fact that I'm doing long form conversation and the fact that people like Joe Rogan and other podcasters out there are doing long form conversations, I think we're getting our attention spans back. So I know I kind of contradicted myself, but I think longer attention spans are coming back. I think technology and people's attention spans are finally evening out. And I think that's a good thing. And I think podcasts, audio podcasts, have a lot to do with that. But we still have a lot to go for on the political correctness front. And that's such a sticky slope. The reason why I brought this up for those of you who tuned in a few minutes ago, the reason why I brought this up is someone recently asked me, not this 4th of July, but last 4th of July, why it is that we can't talk to each other. And folks, I honestly do believe that it is because people are too offended by minuscule things. Or on the flip side, they choose to offend everyone over the most minute things. And we've talked about that plenty on this podcast before, so I don't want to go down that road. But you guys know what and who I am referring to with that. I hope so, at least. But we're on those two sides. People either want to offend each other nonstop, or take the truth as offensive. And until more people can reach the middle ground, not so much ideologically, but more so in the sense of having conversations with each other, we're not going to get anywhere. This is another thing that I think this is another notion that I love. Well, the sides are we're too far to the left on one side and we're too far to the right. There aren't enough moderates out there, and honestly, I don't think true moderates ever really existed. Now, with that being said, I don't think people are ideologically tied as much as they think either. For instance, people love to call me a right-wing conservative, yet, what does that necessarily mean? Because, okay, I would consider myself a conservative, but at the same time, if you want to get married and you're the same gender as the person you want to get married to, big deal. I really don't care either way. It doesn't really affect me. Unless you're forcing others to partake in your ceremony against their will, that's when I have a problem with it. But if you're gay, and you want to marry, your same-sex partner, good on you. If you're straight, good on you. Just live and let society be. I'm also pro marijuana legalization. Not necessarily because I like pot itself. I tried it twice, and honestly, didn't really do anything for me. But I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Certainly, I don't think it's a hardcore drug, and I think we're at the point where Trump, I think, is probably going to federally legalize it. I hope he does, because I think in large part, I think a lot of people, especially teenagers, because here's the thing about teenagers. Teenagers will do anything if it's against the law or it's against the quote-unquote man, right? Ludwig, I know you probably know this well as a teacher. But, once stuff is legal, then it's not so much fun anymore. So, yep, I am high on life, and high on memes as well. But that's another story. So I bring up the political divisions within America because I think a lot of people are waking up on both the left and the right. And, okay. Oh, Christy brought up a really good point. People lack the back and forth skill of conversation these days, and the compassion to correctly and effectively communicate. Bingo. Very good point, Sam. The nature of youth is to rebel. Yeah, exactly. Which is why you're seeing such a big. That's why you're seeing a big growth in Generation Z, I guess we're calling them, being so conservative. Which, by the way, that is a little worrisome if we're calling them Generation Z, right? Because, you know, Z is the last letter of the alphabet, which symbolizes the end. And I'm sure there's some Alex Jones type that that thinks that's like a sign of the apocalypse or whatever. So then what? I guess it has to start over again, right? I know that's a bit of a tangent, but that was kind of a random thought that popped in there. Anyway, as I said, I think the polarization is starting to break through a bit. I think people are starting to become a little bit better about talking with each other, and one of the trends I've seen on Twitter this week that is kind of an indication of that is there's a new hashtag on Twitter called #WalkAway. And the basic premise of this hashtag is that liberals who consider themselves to still be genuinely liberal and not leftist are looking at the state of the current Democrat Party and they're not liking what they're seeing, and so they've chosen to #WalkAway. Some of them have turned into conservatives. Some of them have just remained apolitical. But it's been a hashtag that's been out there for a while, and by a while I mean like the last 2 weeks, which on social media actually is a pretty long time. And someone messaged me last week, DM'd me on Twitter and asked me for more information about it and to do a little research. So I did, and I guess the best example of research I could find was the guy who started the hashtag actually posted an explanation video on his YouTube channel which explains what #WalkAway is. And so I found the clip of this, and we're going to play it here tonight, and I will analyze it for you then, as I want to do. So this is an explanation of #WalkAway. Cut number 1, go. Oh, and this video was done by a guy named Brennan Stryka, I think is how he pronounces his name. It's Stryka or Straka, one of the two. But anyway, here it is, cut number 1, go.
Once upon a time, I was a liberal. Well, to be honest, less than a year ago, I was still a liberal. I became a liberal because I felt I'd found a tribe whose values align with my own. I staunchly reject racism of any kind. I reject the marginalization of any human being based off of their gender or sexual orientation. I reject tyrannical groupthink. I reject a system which allows an ambitious, misinformed, and dogmatic mob to suppress free speech, create false narratives, and apathetically steamroll over the truth. I reject the acceptance of junk science and superstition to advance ideological agendas. I reject hate. These are the reasons why I became a liberal. And these are the same reasons why I am now walking away. For years now, I have watched as the left has devolved into intolerant, inflexible, illogical, hateful, misguided, ill-informed, un-American, hypocritical, menacing, callous, ignorant, narrow-minded, and at times, blatantly fascistic behavior and rhetoric. Liberalism has been co-opted and absorbed by the very characteristics it claims to fight against. For years now, I've watched as people on the left have become anesthetized to their own prejudices and bigotry, and the prejudices and bigotry of those around them who echo their values. I have watched as formerly sensible people who claim to reject racism have come to embrace the principles of universally hating and blaming all of society's problems on all people who have white skin. I have witnessed the irony of advocacy for gender equality morph into blatant hatred and intolerance of men and masculinity. I have seen the once earnest fight for equality for the LGBT community mutate into an illogical demonization of heteronormativity and the push to vilify and attack our conventional concepts of gender. These same self-proclaimed victims of intolerance now turning on the gay community that they attached themselves to advance their agenda, now calling gay people privileged and themselves victims of injustice. I have watched as the left has allowed themselves to become hypnotized by false narratives and conclusions perpetuated by social justice warriors who misrepresent and misconstrue facts, evidence, and events to confirm their own biases that everyone who does not comply with their prejudicial conclusions and follow their orders is a racist, a bigot, a Nazi, a white supremacist, homophobic, Islamophobic, xenophobic, misogynistic, and alt-right extremist. And I have watched as they have used these heartless and
names of which I've been called. You know, I find that amusing too, but not really surprising anymore. Well, let's be honest, I'm the most savage man on two wheels, as, Mr. Brian SQ likes to, call me. He kind of dubbed me that name, so, Rush Limbaugh is America's anchorman, and I'm the most savage man on two wheels. But, anyway, so, but according to the left, I guess I'm also the most savage, Nazi sympathizer on two wheels, because I voted for Trump. And again, I never really was a liberal. I've always been more, I wouldn't really even say far right. I would say conservative / libertarian. But, that's how crazy this has gone. Anyone who is not far left is basically a white supremacist or a neo-Nazi. Hence why this #walkaway movement is starting, and I'm glad that more and more people on the left are starting to see this. Anyway, we're not done with the clip quite yet. There are still 3 minutes left, so cut number 2, I guess. Go.
Carelessly assign labels to intimidate, threaten, bully, silence, attack, unemploy, blacklist, and destroy anybody who dares to fight back. They'll come for me, and then they'll come for you. And worst of all, the Democratic Party and the liberal media has embraced, affirmed, aided, and abetted this cult ideology. In an effort to gain voters and maintain power, the Democratic Party that I once loved has joined forces with the extremist left. The Democratic Party and the liberal media now believe their own ill-gotten conclusions and have ominously decided that they, and only they, know the remedy for society's ills. The left has decided that the solution to problems with race relations in America.
I've said this before, and it will probably get me banned from, YouTube for saying this, but, a lot of that came in under President Barack Obama. And I don't think it came in his first term, and I don't necessarily know if it was intentional I don't necessarily know if it was his intention for all of this to happen, although part of me thinks it was. But irregardless, whether you think it was intentional or not, he basically stood by while the, SJWs, Antifa, then masquerading as Occupy Wall Street, basically took to the streets and 2010, 2011, and 2012, and basically started to shift things. Then there was the whole Michael Brown incident. And, Obama really didn't do anything to, at the very least, okay, let's say Obama was completely, that he was a good guy, and that he was just, that he was just ignorant. At the very least, Obama failed to basically step in and tell his base to knock it off. At the very least, he failed to do that. At the very worst, he was complicit in fundamentally, undermining the fabric of American culture and promoting radical leftism and making it more mainstream. And honestly, I don't know which is which. I guess I'm kind of in the middle on that one. I don't think someone with Obama's intelligence is as ignorant as some people think he is. However, I don't think, he's full on, Emperor Palpatine either from Star Wars. I don't think he's that much of a mastermind. But, a lot of this cultural Marxism was able to kind of fester and grow underneath his presidency. I don't think that's, that's undeniable at this point. Continuing on.
Is more racism. The left believes that attacking, insulting, and dehumanizing one group of people elevates another. The left now believes that there are no boundaries when telling lies, omitting the truth, or misrepresenting facts when telling the news, because their end justifies their means. The left has now decided that its point of view is the only acceptable one, and that suppressing, censoring, and banning open dialogue and debate is virtuous and progressive. The Democratic Party has adopted a deleterious belief system, happily and without skepticism, separating people into groups based off of identity and then organizing them into camps of victims and oppressors. If you are a person of color, an LGBT person, a woman, or an American immigrant, the Democratic Party wants you to know that you are a victim and destined to stay that way. They will insist that you are a victim doomed to exist within a system that is rigged against you, that you are a victim of systemic oppression, that you are a victim of your circumstances, and that no amount of hard work or motivational action will ever allow you to overcome your victimhood or the privilege of those around you. This is perhaps the Democratic Party's greatest and most insidious lie. But if you are a minority in America today, the left-wing politicians and the liberal media don't want you to ever discover this lie. So they bombard us with stories designed to reinforce the narrative that you are in danger, that you cannot succeed. They manipulate your fears and concerns by telling you that you are disadvantaged, disempowered, and disposable to everyone except them. They will tell you that you need them. They will tell you that you are only safe under their supervision. They will promise to liberate you from all that chains you. And then they will do absolutely nothing for you. Once upon a time, I was a liberal. But liberalism has changed, and I will no longer be a part of an ideology or political party that represents everything that contradicts my values of unity, equal opportunity, personal empowerment, compassion, and love. So I am walking away. And I encourage all of you to do the same. Walk away.
Well, we just did find out all about it. You just made a 12-minute video. So anyway, that's what the hashtag walk away movement is. I hope it gains more traction because I'm sick of hearing about Me Too, of hashtag, or I guess pound Me Too. I will admit that that he who shall not be named. I will admit that was a decent joke that he made, but that was one out of thousands of others of not so good jokes. Speaking of people who are actually funny though, someone brought this to well, I knew about it a few weeks ago. I just didn't have the chance to talk about it on the show very much. But comedian Nick DiPaolo was punched in the face after a comedy show back in June. Now, I hold Nick has a special place in my heart, partially because he is half WAP like I am, same as John Neary. So between John, Nick, and I, we're like the WAP brother. We're like the WAP brotherhood of comedians. So anyway, this article describing the incident comes from the Interrobang, which is that's kind of a weird name for a comedy website. It's not. It sounds like a porn site, but it's not. I swear it isn't. And I'll have the link down in the podcast description. But anyway, so the story begins. Late last night, Nick DiPaolo tweeted a photo showing a big bad bruise on his left eye, which was black and blue and all kinds of colors. The only caption DiPaolo tweeted was, "One feminist attack." We thought he might have been joking around about being hit in the face, but Nick nominally confirmed that he was hit by a woman who disagreed with him politically. He said he was hit by someone who came to his show Saturday night. Yeah, so right away, this is a problem I have with the headline. He was not attacked by a fan at all. He was just attacked by a random person at a show. Alright, Nick called into SiriusXM Bennington's show earlier today and told hosts Ron and Gail he was performing at Levity Live in West Nyack, New York, I'm assuming, Sunday night, and that's where he got hit. The show went great, DiPaolo said, and after he left the stage and went into the green room for a short break, he came out to shake hands and take pictures with fans. That's when a guy came over to him and told him that he loved the show, adding, "But my daughter wants to punch you in the face." It was at that moment that the man's daughter sucker punched DiPaolo, hitting him right below the eye. He didn't even finish the word face, and she sucker punched me, Nick told Bennington. Yeah, I doubt this guy was actually a fan if he was willing to allow his daughter, who hates Nick. I doubt this guy was actually a fan. But let's see. Nick did nothing in response, but asked the guy whether this had been a setup. He did call the police to have a report of the incident made. Let's see. He described the woman who hit him as looking like the poster girl for the Occupy Wall Street, and a self-righteous little twat, and said, since the world doesn't allow him to back, he'll take it to court, which is good for Nick. Nick also appeared on the Mike Kelta show, and you can listen to the He said back in the day he was drunk, he would have punched back. And today went to the police station and says he plans to sue her. Her father told him that she has emotional problems, but Nick wasn't buying the excuses. His words will be damning in court. He said, "You knew she had emotional problems. You said she wants to punch you in the face, and you brought her over." It's funny, I've been doing comedy in New York City every night for 20 years. Nothing happens. But then I go to a suburban mall and get punched in the face. Nick's been touring the Northeast on his Nick is Right tour. Again, Nick, you need to come down here to Florida. What the fuck, man? What gives? You got fans out here too. Oh, let's see. Nick is currently in the process of building a studio so he can continue the Nick DiPaolo Show as a podcast, which he is. He is starting a podcast, which I think starts this Monday. But anyway, yeah, so look at that nice shiner on Nick DiPaolo's face. Again, folks, this is, so people ask me why we can't, get along, why we can't have a civil conversation here in America. That is exactly why. Because mostly the left would just rather assault each other. Hey, Mike, and hey, Brian. Let's see. And I don't know about that, Brian. I certainly know that you know who, that someone will try to punch you know who. And as far as the sidekick, well, he probably will at some point. You are right about that. But, anyway. Yeah, so, people want to say that, no one's communicating with each other. No one wants to have, decent conversations with each other. Well, when the other side, when the left wants to punch every conservative in the face, for telling jokes, moreover, that's a big problem. It is indeed. Yeah, people don't want to conversation. They just want to talk to hear themselves. So what you're saying is, Christy, is I started a podcast to myself talk. Oh, I see how you are. No, I'm kidding. But yeah. You know who looks like Owen Benjamin has officially become Voldemort. Yeah, I said his name there just for you. Ludwig. Well, I will say this. I don't think Owen or Nimmer should get punched in the face. I don't think they should. I think they should get booed off stage because they're both bad. I'm not even a comedian, and I've had better sets on this show when I've done comedy on here. But, all that aside, what are you gonna do? So, the bottom line for tonight's show, folks, I guess, is, don't take things too seriously on the 4th of July, when it's a holiday like the 4th of July or Thanksgiving or Christmas. Turn off the social media and actually enjoy your family members. And, just try and be decent to each other. Continue having long-form conversations like this. And, yeah. What's a Voldemort? Are you serious, Brian? Are you just fucking with me now in the comments? You've never read Harry Potter. Wow. I'm not even a fan of Harry Potter, and I know what Harry Potter is. Voldemort is Harry Potter's Joker, or something like that. And you're not supposed to say his name because, some reason why. I haven't read the book since I was a kid. So go old school. Master it with a magazine. Oh yeah, well, if the feminists get their way, the Sports Illustrated, and NFL cheerleaders and all that will be a thing of the past. Anyway, that's that's for damn sure. It's we're living in strange times, and my friend Ryan Marhofer and I were talking last night, and you live in a pretty damn good society when people are getting triggered over an Instagram model's photo because she's prettier than you and you're a feminist or whatever. I mean, that is the pinnacle of a first world problem for women here. I mean, think about that. No one here is getting stoned or beaten or raped by a religious rape gang here in America. Instead, we're getting triggered over NFL cheerleaders. Brian, Brian, you just gave me an idea for a T-shirt, my friend. Fuck the whales, save the cheerleaders. Yeah, we need to make that into a T-shirt or something like that, my friend. I would probably get beaten up, ironically. See, we're talking about people not being able to converse with each other. This would totally, well, even if you are getting stoned, Brian, that is brilliant. I'm gonna write that down on my phone after the show so I can remember to put that on a T-shirt design, because that is brilliant. By the way, MJF, thank you for killing my productivity, because ever since you told me that Kate Quigley is on Instagram, now my productivity has basically gone down to 0. But anyway, thank you for that. And speaking of productivity, I joke, I'm still productive somewhat. You can tune in to my new podcast, my group podcast, which airs immediately after this, the American Watchman Roundtable, by going to AmericanWatchman.org and clicking on the YouTube link, or by searching the American Watchman Roundtable on YouTube. And, well, if you're in the danger zone, I'll send you a link. Anyway, but, before I go, I just want to say thank you for, watching, and one final time for, the folks watching at home. If you go to patreon.com/Whitfield, you can sign up and, support the podcast on Patreon. For only $1 a month, you'll be helping to support the show, and you'll get exclusive access to patron exclusive episodes, and it's a heck of a deal. As a public backer for $5, you'll get a shout out on my blog. For $10 a month, you can hang out exclusive with me on a hangout. Although I do that nightly with the Danger Zone. For $15 a month, you can advertise, and then for $20, you can support the show as an executive producer. So so support the show, and even if you can't support me, the show financially, please give us a like and subscribe and share the podcast with your friends, and also leave us a nice review on iTunes as well. Alrighty, folks. Well, that will just about do it for tonight's episode of the Whitfield Report. Then, as I said, please go over to the American Watchman Roundtable podcast and wait for the Avengers to assemble over there. And until next week, good night, God bless, and God save this great nation. And yeah, Brian, I guess you can send me weed. So, yeah. Oh yeah, for $50 a month, for $50 a month, I will spoon you, Ludwig. So, well, Brian, I'm sure for $50 we can work something out. That's not part of the that's not part of the Patreon package, and I'm not sure I can legally put that up there, but we can work something out. So anyway, thank you for tuning into the show, and like I said, I'll be on the American Watchman podcast in a bit. So be sure to tune in for that. So anyway, good night, God bless, and God save this great nation. And yes, Christy, you're absolutely right. That's that's female privilege right there. So anyway, so long, folks, and see you on the next podcast in 5 minutes. American Watchman. Alright, later, Gator. I'm out of here.